English 338. How are you? How are things? I mean that seriously. March was really long. I mean, it seemed like March was 100 days long as opposed to 30. And April is going equally slowly. April is always a hard year. April is always a hard month. And we in the English department have a phrase, no one quits in April, as a way of exemplifying the kind of the regular work that you have to do in April in order to just get the job done. That is, in a number of different ways, you're feeling exhausted. You're feeling worn out. You're feeling like it's the end of the year. You might have senioritis because you're graduating, or you might just be like, gosh, I need a summer. This year, with all of the things related to the presidency, related to the insurrection, related to the pandemic, which continues, and now the vaccines, it has seemed like, oh my gosh, 10 times worse. So if you are feeling in any way like you need a little bit of time or you need a little bit of energy, just know that we're all feeling that way. I reached a kind of a wall this week where what I did was I pretty much just, I needed to do some things and I just kind of faked it. Frankly, what it was reading and responding to posts in English 338, both in Perusal and in Google Currents. And I love that. It's one of my favorite things to do as a professor, is to just hear the unfiltered thoughts of students as they're going through material and just trying to make sense of what are they seeing, what are they not seeing, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing. And I just gave you all points. I frankly was just like, y'all just need a break and I need a break too. And so we'll just get some points. Here are some points. And I threw points at you. If you did the Perusal and you did the Google Currents, that's wonderful. A number of you have been in contact with me about needing a little additional time for revision, and that's totally fine. Please do revise your papers. It is so easy to revise papers, and in some cases, it takes a little bit of thinking and a little bit of writing, and it could take 1 to 2 hours, but your grade shoots up. It goes from a 1, which is just a mark in a grade book to make sure that you turned it in, so that I can see that you turned in, to a 20, to a 22, to 23. I've seen scores go from 12 to 22 with 2 hours of work. I've seen scores go from 16 to 23. And then a couple things maybe you need to do in order to bring it to a 25. I'm invested in revision. And more than that, I'm invested in the learning that you all do, where you can demonstrate to me that like you really are getting this rhetoric thing. I just want to see you do that. And I will give you as much time as you need. You heard me right. If you want to continue to revise, that's great. I just don't want it to interfere with this digital story telling project. So let's just get some things clarified and kind of out of the way. I'm going to share my screen with you and we'll go from there. If you have any questions, just let me know. So what we've got, of course, is this is what I did last week. I put together a weekly video, but then on top of it, I put together a very brief Google Docs set of slides, a slide deck. And I went through the different kinds of things that you could do instead of just saying we need to clean up our parks. Now I hear you. You enjoy the parks, and especially during the pandemic, the parks system in the United States has been something of a panacea for you. Maybe it's a place where you go to seek relief, where you can just be quiet with your thoughts. And I think that that's wonderful. But let's try to connect the local issues to the global issues. And I think that that's one of the things that you can really do with this project. I had fun making this slide deck, and there's a lot of resources that are built into it. Remember that I have got the slide deck right here waiting for you if you want to check out some of those links. So what is going on this week? This is a fantastic week where you can start to build the thing, whatever it turns out to be. Maybe it's an actual video. Maybe it's a Google Earth Studio. Maybe it's an ArcGIS story map or other kinds of things. I want you to start to build it. Now, what am I talking about here? I am talking about let's use this week to get some of that work out in some form. I'm calling it rough draft week. We could call it first draft week. We could call it storyboarding week. But your options for this post due Wednesday are really located right here under the posts for spring 2021. I wrote a little bit about each of the kind of choices that you have when it comes to just getting a draft out. Now, what do we mean by draft? Could be a storyboard, could be a script. And a script, man, that would be so useful. The script would be the kinds of things that you imagine you're going to say in this digital story, and the way in which you're going to tell the story, and the way in which you're going to connect the local issues to the global issues would be something that drafting out could really solve for you. Posing problems and solving them could be a way that you do this. Telling your own story of being in this place using some of Knapp's activities could be one way that you do this as well. But again, writing up the script that you intend to follow and then revising it could be a key way that you professionalize the video that you made. Third thing I write, like right here, some of you are going to need other sources that maybe I can't provide. Sources maybe from your major, maybe from your specialization within your major. You're going to have research that you want to bring to bear on the questions that you ask about the space you're telling a digital story about. So write up a brief annotated bibliography showing us the resources that you intend to use and how you're going to use them. You know, so I found an article by Smith, and the article is really good on these things, but maybe not so good on these other things. So what I could do is I could use it right at the beginning of my video. You see me using the SRR method right there to summarize, to respond, and to reflect. Fourth thing I say is just write a traditional outline. Just get your ideas out. That's fine. It's not great. It's fine. The more detail you build into that outline, the more helpful it'll be for you, and the more helpful it'll be to peer critiquers, commenters, because that is part of your assignment as well. Then finally, I'd say just start making the actual digital project. There's no better way than to actually just get in it, get your feet wet, get your hands dirty, start to build the thing in whatever format that you're building it. Windows Movie Maker, ArcGIS, Story Map, some other digital form, just make it happen. And at this time, let me remind you, you have all kinds of choices, both in terms of the digital platforms that you use, which should be free. I don't want you to have to pay for anything, but then also how you go about using them and other kinds of information or images or other things. You will see in this page that I give you a couple of examples from last semester's English 338 classes. But I also gave you some links to iMovie, to Story Maps, to Google Earth Studio, and some how-tos. That is how to publish an iMovie on YouTube, how to take Windows Movie Maker files into YouTube, how to do an Adobe Spark video. You've got choices. You've also got Creative Commons content available to you. Now, why do I suggest Creative Commons? If this is not your own stuff, if you've actually taken a song from Taylor Swift or something like that, you know it's going to be blocked by YouTube at some point, and I'm not going to be able to see it. If I can't see the video, I can't give it lots of points and give you the grade that you want. So think about that. You're going to use music. It's going to have to be your own music or some kind of Creative Commons music. If you want to use imagery, you might not be able to use a still like the movie still that I'm using in the background right now. Which movie is this? Do you know? Have I done this before? Some of you who watch movies might note the actual film. Maybe you know which one this is. Fantastic film. My daughter left in the middle. She's only 12. She got scared. It was fun. My son and I watched it twice. He's 15 and a half. So he was really digging on it. And all the things that happened. In any case, a number of links for you right here that you can get your mind straight on what kinds of platforms you're using, how you're using them, and for what purposes. And again, the kind of thing that we're going for here is that you, as much as possible, start to do the work of the project. Now we have 4 weeks left in the course. That is 4 weeks for you to revise your first paper, 4 weeks for you to build this digital story and probably revise it as well, 4 weeks for us to finish up this course. I'm making it happen now because specifically I know how hard the last couple of weeks of May are. It's a run to the finish line. And I know you all can do it. I know if you have questions, the first thing you should do is email me and ask me. Set up an appointment with me in Zoom. We will work something out. But I think this is a good time for us to strike while the iron's hot, to get some ideas out for your digital story and start to make those stories look like stories. That is, to take the parts that you need and to make them work. So finally, what I'll say is a very brief weekly update, but lots of things are going on. By Wednesday, all you got to do is post a draft of your digital story in any format. Like we've talked about, you've got the digital story format, any digital platforms you're using, an actual Google Doc of some kind, image, maybe you drew the pictures out that you're going to use in your digital video, or a storyboard template that you found online somewhere. The goal is by Wednesday that you have done that. In addition, like I say right here in red, you'll get credit for this currents post if you upload some kind of draft of the digital story using one or more of the techniques above, and you comment on 2 other people's drafts. We have been practicing commenting in this class. You have been doing some reading and responding to other people's work. When it goes well, it goes really well. You all are offering a movie of your mind. You're saying, here's what I'm seeing as I'm reading or as I'm viewing. You're saying, here's what stands out to me. Here are my unfiltered reactions. But you're doing more than that. You're saying, here's what I think is working well so far. Here's maybe what's not, and the questions that I have. You're framing those questions so that people can know that this is something that a reader or a viewer has not gotten. And then it's incumbent upon that writer, that maker, that builder, that movie maker to go ahead and start to put in the information that viewers need in order to make sense of these projects. So what does that mean? Be a peer critiquer who goes in and looks at somebody else's stuff and says, here's what I see working. Here's what I maybe don't see working so far. Here are the things that I might do next. What are the 2 or 3 things that you would do if this project were yours? List them out in one of those comments. Okay, so again, it's tough. It's April. April may be 100 days long, but you know what? You will work through these log jams of motivation. You will get back on the horse. You'll go outside. I went mountain biking today. It was nice. The guy I went with went ass over tea kettle, and he actually ended up bruising some area right above a kidney. It hurt him a lot. He's going to take a couple of weeks off. Don't fall off and injure yourself, but get outside and enjoy the sunshine. Thanks for sticking with me. If you've stuck in with me to this point, and hit me up if you have any questions at all or just want to talk. Okay, thank you.